Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Dishita. I'm a fourth year PhD student at MIT CSAIL with Professor Stephanie Mueller. And a lot of my projects are focused on learning of skills. And I'm presenting here the first set of projects that were funded by MITili. So the first project is focused on adaptive learning of motor skills. We published 2 papers related to this work. The first one was focused on studying if adaptive tools, physical adaptive tools, whether they can help in motor skill training or not. And the second paper that was published was focused on building systems and designing tools for learning of different motor skills. So the idea of adaptive motor skills is something that's demonstrated by this prototype that we built, which was, for example, while learning basketball, we built this adaptive basketball tool that kind of senses how the player is performing and adjusts the hoop size. So it reduces and increases the hoop width, and also increases and reduces the hoop height based on how the learner is performing. So as the learners get better at their skills, the task, the tool sort of adapts to make the task harder and harder, kind of taking the learner from a beginner level to an expert level, while always maintaining the difficulty level at an optimal challenge point, which is when the difficulty is never too easy nor too hard for the learner. And the reason why we keep the difficulty at an optimal challenge point is because studies have shown that maintaining difficulty tasks at this like neither too easy nor too hard sort of like optimal level leads to higher learning gains. Oops. So we conducted a bunch of user studies where we used this adaptive prototype and tested for learning gains in various conditions. So the first study was focused on non-adaptive versus adaptive mode. And then the second one was in the condition of manually adaptive versus auto-adaptive mode. And our study sort of showed that, you know, we as human learners are really bad at assessing our own skill levels and knowing what level to set our difficulty training to achieve maximum learning gains. So we always often tend to under-challenge ourselves or over-challenge ourselves. And our studies kind of showed that in both the studies, in both the conditions, auto-adaptive mode led to higher learning gains. But in addition to just the learning gains, there was some interesting feedback from the learners as well, where it turns out that the participant kind of found it more trusting to use the auto-adaptive training mode. And they also sort of thought it was easier and they felt more relaxed because they did not have like a personal coach sort of like over their shoulders, kind of like assessing them. So that was something very interesting. We were very like motivated by this idea, and we sort of expanded this idea of like learning motor skills using adaptive tools, and conducted a bunch of like conducted a workshop where students built these different tools that ranged from adaptive floaty for learning to swim versus this adaptive piano. One of my favorites is this adaptive glove that is used to teach sign language. And this adaptive skateboard that changes its length based on how the learner is performing or like learning to skate. And one of my other personal favorites is learning to sort of walk in heels, where the heels, the height of the heels increases as you learn to walk in higher heels. But through this workshop, we not only like proved that, oh, there are all these like different designs that could be built, we also use this workshop to teach students the idea of building these like adaptive tools, and also identify where it is challenging to design these adaptive tools. And based on those findings, we built 2 systems. So one was a user interface to configure the learning algorithm for design of these like several adaptive tools. And then the second one was a visualization tool that can help the learner sort of assess and visualize how they're performing and whether the tool is adapting based on their learning or not. And if any of this work interests you, or if you find it exciting, or if you have any ideas related to it, please reach out to me and I'll be happy to talk. Thank you so much.